Good afternoon. I am definitely proud to be here today. I am Deputy Mayor Todd Bettison. I'm here with Mayor Duggan, members of City Council, Chief White, representatives of the community-based organizations who we have selected as Shotstoppers. These 6 community groups, the Detroit People's Community, Detroit 300, Force Detroit, Detroit Friends and Family, and the collective partnership of Wayne Metro Community Action Agency, Denby Neighborhood Alliance, and Camp Restore and New Era Community Connection. I'll just say this, that New Era is not present with us here today. They're in Cleveland with their Cleveland chapter, and they're at a graduation promotion where they deal with troubled youth. Zeke sends his regards and wish that he could have been here today, but we still congratulate them on their success as well. We are looking forward to partnering with the Shotstopper groups to lift the voices of the community and ultimately change the culture of the violence in the city of Detroit. And so I am so proud of this program and so happy to be here today. And at this point, I would like to introduce our mayor, Mayor Mike Duggan.
Well, we are about to embark on a completely different kind of journey in violent reduction. We have a great police department. They're doing a good job, but there is a limit to what the police can do. And as I said when we first discussed this, our police department is excellent at getting the guns out of the shooter's hands, but we've got to get the anger out of the shooter's hearts. When I was the prosecutor 20 years ago, the violence patterns were pretty predictable. They were heavily traditional gang-driven, they were drug turf-driven, et cetera. You look at the reports of shootings today, somebody threw a drink in somebody's face, 3 people are shot. Somebody cut in front of somebody in line, and somebody is dead. So much of this is anger-driven, beef-driven. In many cases, individuals didn't start the day planning to shoot somebody, but they were having a gun on them illegally just in case, and a flash of anger turned into a tragedy that changed lives for good. And so we said, what if we took $10 million and tried to do something nobody has done? There are lots of community violence initiatives in this country. And lots of organizations are paid based on how many contacts they have, how many meetings they hold, how many recreation events they hold, et cetera. We sat down with the activists here who are in the neighborhoods, and we said, let's try something very different. We have 6 winning groups. I got to listen to all 6 of them. They have 6 different ideas on how you reach people to change what we're going on. Instead of your normal government where we tell you what the plan is and pay you to do it, we are supporting their vision in their plan in their neighborhoods. And you're going to hear from each of them in the boundaries we've set. But we've taken the highest violence areas in this city, and we have groups who have said, I know that neighborhood, I can make a difference. I was hoping we would get 3 quality groups. We got 25 bids, several of them outstanding. We decided to spend more money than we intended. We're going to have to go back to City Council for more funding for this next year because I kind of overspent the budget with the 6 groups. So Council President, hopefully you and the Violence Chair, Councilman Durhall, will be supportive of that. But I really felt like with what's going on in this community, we needed to spend more on prevention. And so this is a relatively simple concept. These 6 groups get $175,000 a quarter to execute the plan they gave us, and they'll tell you about their different ideas. And every quarter that they do better than the city as a whole in reducing violence, they get more money to expand their plans further. And they could potentially get up to another $175,000 a quarter. Now, it is so variable. You have one shooting at one block party, and your quarterly number can slip away pretty easily. But if these groups can beat the city average 1 or 2 quarters a month, It will be a great thing for the quality of life in the community. And the beauty of this is the groups that are doing the best keep getting more and more money to expand what's working. And those who aren't doing as well, we're going to have quarterly meetings where everybody shares their strategy. Those who aren't doing well can adopt the strategies from those who are. So we're not prejudging anybody. I have no idea which of these 6 groups is going to have the most success or the least success. What I do know from meeting with all of them, every one of them is deeply plugged in to our communities. They know the pain that the folks in these neighborhoods are feeling. They know what's driving the anger. They know what's driving the shootings. And if there's anybody who can reach the hearts of our residents, I think it is these 6 groups. I want to say a special thank you to Deputy Mayor Todd Bettison and his entire team. He didn't have any roadmap to follow. Okay? He started this from scratch. When he goes to the national conferences in D.C., none of them have anything like this. In fact, right now, he's the center of attention because they're all saying, how did you do it? But he had this vision from the beginning, has done a beautiful job of executing it. And so let's give him a big hand as I welcome back the Deputy Mayor.
And so like the mayor said, today is absolutely a great day, and it is definitely a team collective effort. And I'll just say that with my 27 years with the Detroit Police Department, where I retired from last year, the thing that's so important is the fact of how these community-based groups have helped the department and helped overall when it comes to just volunteering and doing this great work. And to be able to give resources back to help them do more of what they do is just really the touchstone. And so with that being said, I would like to welcome our council president, Mary Sheffield, who is a leader when it comes to gun violence prevention, and she's always there with her Occupy the Block. And so the color for gun violence prevention is orange. I see Detroit 300 already has their orange, but without further ado, let's give Council President Mary Sheffield a round of applause.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and good afternoon to everyone. I am just extremely proud of today. Number one, just the collaborative effort over the last 9 years that I've been on council. We have made tremendous strides in the area of gun violence, and I think all of us should give ourselves a round of applause for the work that we have done collectively. To our mayor, I want to thank Mayor Duggan for, just being open to this innovative way of addressing gun violence and utilizing our federal dollars to be able to measure and test this to see if it works. The tireless effort of our deputy mayor, Mr. Bettison, who pulled everybody together to make sure everyone was at the table to make this thing work. Of course, our chief, who is always there on the front line, making sure that everyone's voices are included in all of the organizations and my colleagues as well. We've come a long way. But I do believe that we have more work to do as it relates to gun violence in our city in ending the senseless violence that we continue to see. And I believe today, well, let me first say, when I first took office, I have always stood firm on the belief that we have to address the root causes of violence in our city, the social issues that breed gun violence. And when I look at this community intervention plan or program, we're not allowing government to do this now. We're leaning on organizations now who are embedded in the community, who are going to build relationships, reach out. They have what we call street credibility, right? They know these areas, the unique needs of these zip codes that they're going to be working in, and they're going to be building relationships with these young people and wrapping around services, mental health, training, education, de-escalation tactics, all the things that I believe are a part of addressing gun violence that are not just from a public safety standpoint, but from a social and human standpoint, which oftentimes I think we're missing. So I am just extremely proud. It is something that I have supported from the very beginning, whether it be from the policy perspective. I'm always pushing for legislation that deals with the underlining social issues, or whether it's my Occupy the Corner initiatives, where we're out in the community meeting people where they are, connecting people with the resources, and making sure that we're addressing the social issues. Now we have grassroots, boots on the ground organizations that are going to be doing this work, and I could not be more proud of us investing in this initiative that I believe is going to make our city safe and improve what we're seeing as it relates to gun violence. And so I'll lastly just say that we have to use all the tools in our toolbox. We invest in the police department. We are going to continue to invest in DPD and the men and women that are doing a fabulous job. We also invest in technologies that they need to support their work. But today, we are investing in the people. We are investing in grassroots organizations. And I think it's a tool that has been underutilized. And I think we're all going to be very surprised to see the returns on this particular investment in making our city a safe place for each and every one of us. So with that being said, congratulations to all the organizations. And I'm going to now bring up my colleague and partner, Councilmember Durhal.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is hard to say things that have not been said, but one of the things that I want to pinpoint today about being a tremendous day is that we are taking a step forward. We are not taking the traditional approach. We are not trying to arrest our way out of crime. We are partnering with members of the community who are affected every day and folks who are concerned citizens every single day. I want to give a special shout out to the mayor as well as deputy mayor for their collaboration and their partnership with council and our gun violence task force. Oftentimes throughout cities, through America, we have seen some folks don't believe that this approach works, and they have put their faith forward. And with council, we have put our money where our mouth is when we talk about stopping gun violence. When we talk about gun violence, I will tell you oftentimes folks don't talk about there are two victims, the person behind the gun and the person in front of the gun. Most of this gun violence, particularly here in the city of Detroit, is driven by deep social issues, socioeconomic issues, mental health, and just anger, just pure anger. And so when we took over as the chair of the Gun Violence Task Force, one of the things that we wanted to do was to hear from the folks who are here in the neighborhoods every single day doing their work. I commend them more than anybody, because at times when there weren't funds available, when there weren't grants available, when they're not receiving money every quarter, they are still out here doing the work, trying to make our community safer every single day. And that takes dedication. That takes a vision, and I am so happy to see this day come where we can tell them, hey, we are your partners. We are here to help you. We will help you get that funding so you can penetrate these neighborhoods where our police officers can't, get deep and talk to these young folks. Tell them and teach them about conflict resolution, cognitive behavioral training, and all other methods that will help stop the violence within our community. So I am proud to be here today. And as I speak about that collaboration again, I cannot help but mention Deputy Mayor Bettison, who has just been amazing. And so I will turn the mic back over to him. I appreciate everyone being here today, but this is only the beginning. Note that. This is only the beginning. We have a long way to go to help those victims on both sides of the gun. So God bless you all, and I will turn it back over to Mayor Bettison.
And then I just want to give a special acknowledgement to Councilmember Mary Waters as well, who has joined us, who is always concerned and definitely supports the efforts to reduce violence in the city of Detroit. And so at this point, I would like to bring up Eric Ford of the Detroit 300 so that you can hear remarks from Mr. Ford.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Congratulations to everybody. I don't have enough time to name all the resources we're going to bring to 48227. Just know that we're bringing them all. And Real quick, you know, when my mom was murdered, I told her when I was 17, I told her at her casket that I couldn't save you, but I promised to save other mothers, other women, other children. I've been doing it for 13 years. And thanks to the mayor, deputy mayor, and this team, lovely team back here, we come, not coming. We just gonna come and help families, all kind of families. We have so many programs that's ready right now. And just to let everybody else know, if I steal one of you guys' ideas, it's gonna be okay. We ain't stealing. It's one Detroit.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And, you know, each one of these 6 groups picked a certain what we call CVI zone. And so it is a 3 to 5 square mile area. And so as you can see on the map, the zone that Detroit 300 picked. And from there, the next award winner, or that we sent through the procurement process thus far, will be Force Detroit, and representing Force Detroit is Zoe. So, Mr. Zoe.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank the city, mayor, deputy mayor, city council, as well as everyone else who has made this possible. I'm from the 48228. Force Detroit took me in once I got out of prison, educated me on CVI, allowed me the opportunity to be able to instill it in the community that I was born and raised in. CVI is community-based violence intervention with no one-all, be-all solution. We use the technique and the strategy of the credible messenger, but that doesn't mean anything about any other solution. We are driven to do for our community because of the things that we endure, the things that we see. We are human beings. No one likes seeing their fellow man or fellow sister harmed and murdered. And when they do, they're not in the right state of mind. I once again want to thank and congratulate my brothers and sisters who've been on the ground effortlessly trying to combat and solve the problem and the social ills of our community. And I'm honored to be a part of this. I am honored to be amongst them. I am honored to take care of my city and my people. At Force Detroit, we are thankful and grateful for the opportunity to love our people and to use everything, even the kitchen sink, to combat the things that we're going through. Once again, I want to thank you all, my brothers and my sisters. I want to thank the city as well, my brothers and my sisters, in creating solutions that would create a freer, safer Detroit for our children and the rest of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. And at this point, I would like to bring up Sandra Handy Turner of the Denby Neighborhood Alliance.
First, I want to say that I am so honored to have been given this opportunity, the opportunity to now change the narrative. Our babies are growing up in this city thinking that crime is a normal process, and it's not. So we can change that narrative. And I say this because I have been allowed now to do this work in 48205, which is the most crime-ridden zip code in the city. We have been called the blood, the red zone, every name that you could think of, but we can change that narrative. We now are going to be allotted resources on the ground to support the work that our residents and our community leaders have been doing for years without any kind of funding. Now we can really make an impact throughout this whole city and change the narrative when people talk about Detroit, they're going to talk about the world-class city that we really, truly are. And we want to thank the mayor, the deputy mayor, and city council for allowing us this opportunity to support the residents by raising the quality of life and decreasing that number one quality of life issue, which is safety. So we're all going to come together and we're going to change the narrative. Our babies going to grow up and know that they live in a city that cares for them and supports them along with the residents in this city. So Denby Neighborhood Alliance, Camp Restore Detroit, and Wayne Metro in partnership will invite you all to 48205 for that awesome party when we change this narrative. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I know I get a lot of credit, but I got to take a moment to thank my team because I got an extremely hard-working team behind me. The mayor thanked them already, but, you know, to Michael Peterson, Andy, Taverna, and Pam McLean. And I even got to thank the procurement team, Sandra, because they have been working diligently on this to get us to this point. And so at this point, I would like to bring up Mr. Ray Winans of Detroit Friends and Family.
Good afternoon. Most definitely want to thank my team and the folks that's been rocking with me during this effort. Want to thank the mayor, deputy mayor, and council for just continuing to believe in us. You know, and congratulations to everybody. You know, I'm looking forward to doing neighborhood work with everybody. But this is a historical moment for myself personally. Being raised on the east side of Detroit, I've never seen, and I come from the streets, an opportunity where the streets get an opportunity to make the streets in the neighborhood safe. Here's an opportunity for folks who really want transformation and want out the streets to actually come and tap into the resources. Here's an opportunity for us to be able to support the parents who we know for a fact been asking for help for their children, but sometimes the navigation of the resources has been complicated. And so we will be in the 48224, right? However, we will most definitely be looking forward to working with everybody doing cross-neighborhood work. And again, just want to thank y'all, and I believe what you just said, Ms. Handy. Detroit most definitely will be the gold stamp and the gold seal for this work across the country. So thank y'all.
At this point, I would like to bring up another individual, another group that's been out there just doing the work for years, a young man that I met quite a while ago, but is definitely a data-driven and just a phenomenal community builder. I'm going to bring up Mr. Negesfu of the Detroit People's Community.
Wow, this is beautiful. A little tall, I'm going to adjust the mic. First and foremost, I definitely want to thank the mayor and Todd Bettison. They did a tremendous job in help organizing and strategizing this, but there's been a lot of moving parts. You know, Mary said something that was beautiful. She talked about, you know, the grassroots organizations that have the opportunity, but we wouldn't have been able to do that without having a grassroots city council. So can we get a round of applause for that? That's a beautiful thing. Also, I want to congratulate all these organizations. In some capacity, I've had the pleasure to work intimately with every last one of them, and I couldn't say that y'all have made the best choice in choosing these organizations. These are tremendous and impactful, and people who are very diligent and honest and been doing this work for several years, over decades. So congratulations to you. It's an honor. I look forward to working with each and every last one of you. I also want to thank my organization, the People's Action, Jackie, Minister Freedom, and several of our colleagues. We work very hard. We do this work every day, all day, 24/7 around the clock, like many of my comrades. So I'm just very happy. And last but not least, I want to make a disclaimer that this is not about authority. This is not about enforcement. This is about love. So when we talk about community violence intervention, we're talking about reaching out to these young men, reaching out to these young women, and whomever that is at risk, and giving them love, giving them alternative, giving them knowledge, giving them understanding, and more importantly, being a big brother, being a big sister to these people. So peace and love, and thank you again, City of Detroit.
And at this point, before we bring up Chief White, Councilmember Waters, if you would like to address the audience and say, all righty, we definitely appreciate your support. And without further ado, you know, definitely want to bring the chief up, and because these groups are going to be able to help with the burden and as far as crime. You know, we got enforcement, we have prevention, and we have technology. So just really investing in the people in the city of Detroit who has really just stepped up these community-based groups to attack violence and to prevent it. And when we talk about Shotstoppers, it's the preventative piece, to prevent the shot before it's actually fired. So that's where we got the name from one of our community groups who said, invest in the people, invest in the prevention, invest in before the shot is fired. Let's not have it fired. And so without further ado, Chief White.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You know, I've got some prepared words, but I'm just going to go away from those words and talk about how excited I am about this event. I'm going to tell you a very, very brief story. On the way in, I was on a phone call with a colleague on the other side of the country, and he was asking for our plan because they're hosting a big event in the next couple of weeks, and he recognized nationally that we had some degree of success with the 3 major events that we had here, the Grand Prix, Taylor Swift, and the Pride Festival. So he said, can you send me your strategy? And I said, sure. And I said, I only got a couple minutes. I've got to get to our CVI presentation. And he says to me, he says, what is that about? So I told him about this event. And I told him, you know, some background on it. And I said that, you know, the mayor and the council is investing $10 million into community crime reduction and intervention. And he says, let me see if I got this right. Your mayor is a former prosecutor. I said, yep. He says, your deputy mayor is a former first assistant chief. I said, yep. He says, your city council is supporting you on crime. He goes, I go, yep. He says, you got no excuses. You got no excuses. You got to get it right. And I thought about that, and I laughed, and I got off the phone, and he's absolutely right. We have an opportunity right now to be great. We've got supportive council. We've got 3 council members here that are passionate about reducing crime and supporting this police department. We've got a mayor who's invested with council significant dollars in you all to help us, because in large part policing, unfortunately, is mostly reactive. By the time we get the call something bad has happened, we are now actually able to test in our most violent neighborhood this interruption of community engagement, this positive interruption to violence, using people on the ground, grassroots, mud-roofed folks who are there, who know the community, that can stop this senseless violence, stop this using a weapon to resolve a relatively simple dispute, the gun safety issues, knowing that you've got 5 teenagers in the house and you got to go to work. Lock the frickin' gun up. You know, and to stop fighting over things that are not fight-worthy. Have an argument. Leave the guns down and leave them at home. So we're excited. I'm telling you right now, I've talked to my command team. They're waiting for you. You're going to get data. You're going to get information on the most violent areas. You're going to be able to respond to areas before the problem happens, and they're going to tell you areas that we're having the most problem in. So, and if that doesn't happen, and it will, then you'll have my number, and you'll be able to call me personally, and I'll be able to coach them up to make sure that they know that they need to give you what you need. So thank you very much for doing this and for taking the opportunity, and I'm super excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And so with the groups, I want to say congratulations on making it this far in the process once again. But it is a process. And so with that being said, the mayor and I, the administration, we plan on sending the contracts up to City Council by the end of the week. And we're hoping that, you know, upon their approval, that it'll be awarded, that the contracts will be approved by City Council by July 1st. And so, but understanding that they're going to do their due diligence, taking a look at it. So I always say with the groups, you made it through the procurement process, you made it through this selection process, and so congratulations. And at that point, I'll open it up for questions. Yes, sir. So this, our program is unique, but it's CVI, Community Violence Intervention, being done in other parts of the country. Absolutely. They have an office, a National Office of Violence Prevention, and CVI is not new. And even in the city of Detroit and other places, the philanthropic community has been investing in community violence intervention. Locally, you have Skillman, you have Hudson Weber, you have the Joyce Foundation, other foundations as well. And across the country, there are investment by major municipalities using the American Rescue Plan Act money, and we definitely have to thank the Biden administration for that, for being able to see the space and create and contribute to the ecosystem of, as we call CVI, Community Violence Intervention. So it is being done across the country.
I meant funneling money investment into the groups. I grew up over near Copeland, and I know back then it was tough. It's even worse now for a lot of the young people. But we never ever thought about asking for funding or even going to city council for help back then to help us out, help us help you. So what the groups are doing, their plans, and how the city council, mayor's office, police department, how you're working with them, is that being done anywhere else as far as you can tell?
I think what makes our program unique, and I would say yes and no. Our program has a metric component that makes it a little bit different. So is CVI being invested in and other cities investing directly into groups? I would say yes, but our program is unique, and we have something special in the city of Detroit. And the metric component, where it's a performance-based grant, that is a unique component, and that's what's really going to have the eyes on the city of Detroit.
So lots of conversations in DC. There are three things different about this program than you see anywhere else. One, you have distinct geographies that each of the groups have taken responsibility for. Normally you have some general outreach effort. In this case, you have a group with a distinct area and embedding themselves in those relationships. Second, the government is not telling them what strategy to use. You do not have another CVI program where the government doesn't come out and say, I'll fund you to do this. We're saying we let 25 people propose strategies to us, and then the team picked the 6 strategies that we thought were most authentic to those neighborhoods. And the third thing that's different is that up to half of the funding will come from actual performance. The numbers are what they are. As I've said to the groups, we report these numbers to the FBI and the Uniform Crime Reports. They are what they are, and the opportunity to earn significantly more prevention money by succeeding. Those 3 elements don't exist anywhere, and a year or 2 from now, people will come look at us if we succeed, and if we don't succeed, we'll sit down and talk together. But I have never been more optimistic. I think we have one of the best police chiefs in the country, and I think the department's doing their job well. Now, you've got the best activist groups in the city, as you say, having real resources behind them. They don't have to go ask somebody for a $50,000 grant, right, which you guys spend a lot of time doing. We're going to write a substantial check and let them focus on what they do well. And so that's what I think is different. Those of you who have done it, I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that.
So again, to the point that the mayor and deputy mayor was making, this is the first time, right? We've been doing this work over the last 13 years, been nationally recognized. But to have a real plan, a solid plan, that the city and council said, hey, tell us what you guys want to do, identify your neighborhoods, and tell us the individuals that you're going to be working with, that's huge. Traditionally, when you receive funding, it's, hey, here's what we want you to do, right? So then you have to kind of pivot your plan. Right now, we came with our own individual plan. We're doing cross-neighborhood work together. And so this is the greatest opportunity. Again, me being a lifelong Detroiter, I've seen in the history of me being in this city when it comes to community violence intervention. You get a chance to help the shooters. You get a chance to help the victims. You get a chance to help the family. And more importantly, you get a chance to work cross-neighborhood, east to west side, 4224, 4205. It's unreal.
As Mr. Winan said, we were allowed to come up with our own prevention and intervention programs, each group, and we have prevention programs that include K through 12 education, adopt a lot, removing blight, and from our communities, because under blight, a lot of criminal activity happens with blight in your community. People think you don't care, so they want to come in the community where they don't think they're going to be caught doing criminal activity because, of course, we live in so much blight. But removing blight removes that cover. Working with our youth to do social emotional learning where they're not impulsive. They're not thinking impulsively, but they're using real critical thinking when they're in adverse situations, and they think with consequential thinking, because right now they don't think about consequences, they just act. So we need that social emotional learning to level out our young people, but also adults. It's not just our young people, it's adults committing crimes. So how do we give them the skills and training opportunities where they can live and have a life where they can afford to live comfortably and take care of their families, and they're not out doing criminal activity? Are we doing substance abuse training? Are we talking to people about opioids and different things that are bringing down our community? All of these are necessary, either preventive measures or intervention that will help us to decrease the amount of crime in our community. And it's a lot of different programs from each of these groups. And they may not be the same, but together I know they're going to work.
You talked about strategies. I'm from 48228. I'm from the neighborhood that you said you was from, Cody. We know most of our youth, a lot of stuff that's taking place, social media plays a big role in what's taking place. So we have strategies of dealing with our youth where they are, dealing with them where they are, developing a relationship with them, using some of these resources to expose them to something else outside of their community where they feel safe, to where you can have those conversations, where they're not on high alert. We also have a strategy of developing an ecosystem of wraparound services. What does this ecosystem look like? It's based off the social determinants of health. The social determinants of health. We have a particular belief in something called Maslow's hierarchy. Maslow's hierarchy, basic needs. First need is food, shelter, and clothing, something to address that. Second need is safety, something to address that. Third need is belonging to, something to address that. Fifth need is self-esteem, something to address that. Last need is self-actualization. Not what we want you to be. What do you want to be? What's the best version of you? So the strategy is centered around the social determinants of health, consistent engagement, and what you want to be. What do you want to be? And we have to meet them where they're at. A lot of times, most of the stuff that's taking place in the streets is taking place because our children have went through a pandemic. That's why we're developing with others that's standing up here, a post-pandemic cross-neighborhood model, because Detroit doesn't have boundaries. Violence travels. It travels. So we're creating strategies along with our partners to where we are beyond cooperative, where the things that we're doing is cohesive. It just comes together because we all trying to do for our community. But one of the main things is meeting them where they're at and addressing those 5 things that a human being needs to fulfill their destiny of just being a normal human being. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Can you tell us more about how you're measuring the successful? What are the metrics you're looking at? Is it solely
Yeah, it's very simple. Homicides and non-fatal shootings. And within a certain, what we call CVI zone, and being able to compare that period to the previous year during the same quarter. And so it's going to be based off of a quarter, 3 months, comparing to the period looking back a year ago. And then a reduction of 10% or either 20% in factoring in the citywide trend. And so, like the mayor stated previously, those numbers come from the FBI, we report. And so Chief White in his real-time crime center, his analysts will ensure that the groups are getting information promptly so that they'll know exactly where they are and if they need to make any adjustments to their plan, their strategies.
Deputy Mayor, what does it say to you that 25 different groups came to you with a desire to be a part of this, even though you couldn't give grants to all 25? Nonetheless, so many had a desire to partake.
That is an excellent question. I'm definitely glad that you asked it because after the mayor's state of the city, when we announced it and we put out the NOFA, the Notice of Funding Opportunity available to the groups, I maybe expected 10. I don't know exactly how many the mayor expected, but everybody had kind of a ballpark idea. We did not expect 25. And what I can tell you is groups, individuals in this city care, and that even if a group didn't win, it was a very close competition. We only expected to pick 3 or 4 groups, but it was such competitive applications. The mayor just said, okay, we're going to go with 6 to be able to cover more of the city. And so as you can see with the map, by picking 6, we're pretty well covering all of the hotspots, and we believe that that'll make a tremendous difference.
For the groups that were unsuccessful, is there room for additional partnerships with the city now they've kind of come forward, presented a plan, even though they didn't get the funding?
One of the things that you'll hear me always say is an ecosystem. And so through the American Rescue Plan Act dollars from the Biden administration, and even the state of Michigan has CVI on their radar, so it's going to be allocations from the state of Michigan for this work as well across the whole state. And then going back to our private entities, our philanthropic organizations who are pouring into the ecosystem. So there are plenty of opportunities available for groups that didn't make it. And so we're just glad from a government standpoint that we're able to finally contribute to the ecosystem and that many of these groups have a lot more funding opportunities available.
How much additional funding will you be asking the city council for?
So we're setting the contracts up right now, and it's contracts for $10 million. And so after that's approved, and within a year, we'll come back.
Can you speak to what set these 6 apart from the 25? What was different about what they had to offer?
Yeah, just the body of work. And so it was an evaluation committee, and they evaluated the applications, and they went through an interview process as well. And so based off the evaluation board, they felt that these were the most overall comprehensive, had the best strategies, and had the capacity, and also had the longevity that had been doing it in the community.
And then that 10 to 20%, how heavy of a lift is that? How likely is it, do you think, that they'll be able to succeed at those numbers?
Yeah, I didn't hear.
The 10 to 20%, how heavy of a lift is that? How likely is it that they'll be able to succeed at those measures?
We'll see. I believe that you'll see individuals hitting the benchmark of 10%, 20%. And I'll state this, that even during my career with the police department, we hit our benchmark sometimes we didn't. And so we're going to support these groups and stand by these groups. And some will hit them, some won't, and they'll adjust, just like we all have to adjust strategy, and we'll keep it moving. We're taking questions from the media, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The mayor mentioned you were in that kind of an area that police have a harder time reducing violence. Is this going to be a situation where someone could call up their community group if there's a situation, or is it more preventing it from ever getting to those kind of tensions?
Yep.
Yes, folks.
Yep.
Both. The both.
Come on up, Ray.
So it's the both, right? When you're embedded in the community, your community knows who you are. The way you prevent a shooting, right, is through relationships. Work with individuals who have high transformative potential. And so I just use an example real quick. Quay, stand up, please. He's from the 48205. I'm working in the 48224. As Zoe mentioned, right, doing cross-neighborhood strategies. We see a few going on. Zoe may reach out to the guy, I reach out to him, right? In other instances, when you're building relationships and you're embedded with the family, right, the mother may give you a call. The brother may give you a call. And so that's how you address that, right? So it's the preventative piece, not waiting on the gun to be pulled, not waiting on somebody's house to get shot up. And then we deal with retaliation prevention as well.
Well, we have time for one more question, and then you can get one-on-one questions answered.
How big are the staff? How many people are going to be working on this across the board?
They pick their own strategy, they have their own budgets, and they determine what they wanted to spend their priorities as far as allocation. I'll give you an example. Some allocated for various activities, some groups allocated some relocation fees, meaning a relocation budget, because if it's a beef going on and it's the it's the possibility that a retaliation could occur, then you may need to relocate a family into a hotel until you can resolve and solve that beef. And so these groups have been out there doing the prevention for a long time. They're the experts, and we allowed them to come up with their plans to allocate the monies within their budgets of how they want to do it, the staff that they need. And so each one has a unique approach to it, and we're going to see which one is actually the most successful. And as you see, they're working collaboratively together, and then they're going to learn. It's going to be cross-pollination between ideas. And so I just believe that we're going to really have something special as far as being able to see the goal to reduce violence and change the hearts and minds of individuals who are in those areas.
All right, thank you
All righty.
very much.
Thanks.